I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, adoption of the agenda. Mover, Councillor Decker. Seconder, Councillor Longo, that Council approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. Moved by Councillor DeRose, seconded by Councillor Neal, that Council approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Mayor's report. On Wednesday, September 22nd, I attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Pastone School, located on the corner of Merrittville Highway and Hurricane Road in the city of Thorold. The school has been renamed Mountain View Center for Innovative Learning, thanks to a donation of $1 million from the Mountain View Building Group. This donation was used to overhaul the building's HVAC system, replace interior lights and skylights, as well as developing a series of outdoor learning and play hubs on the property, which includes 2 outdoor classrooms. I presented Mountain View Building Group President Mark Basciano with a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the City Council. Council Neal also attended this special event, which was held outdoors and included an outdoor tour. On Thursday, September 23rd, I, along with Councillors Neal, Sentence, Kenny, and Regional Councillor Whalen, attended the BioVeld HOPA open house, which was held at the Thorold Multimodal Hub site. CAO Manoj Dalwaria and Economic Development Manager Marco Marino were also in attendance. It was great to speak at this event, as well as see the excitement and traction this multimodal hub has experienced. I look forward to many more positive announcements regarding this site in the months ahead. On Monday, September 27th, I was honored to drop the puck at the Thorold Blackhawks Junior B season opener versus the St. Catharines Falcons. Councillor Neal was also in attendance. Their home opener on the new Monday night crowd was successful with a 1-0 shootout victory in front of a very good crowd. On Friday, September 24th, CAO Manoj Dalwaria and I met with Interim President Lynn Wells and Executive Director of Government and Community Relations Megan Rustnell of Brock University. This meeting focused on off-campus student issues, especially in high-density student areas within our residential neighborhoods. We stressed the importance of these concerns to our community. On Wednesday, September 23rd and 29th, I met with our community partners, Brock University, BUSU, Brock Security, Niagara Regional Police, Regional Bylaw, and Waste Management. Jason Simpson, Chief Building Official who oversees our Bylaw Department, also attends these meetings. We focus on off-campus student issues in residential areas, particularly high-density residential areas like the Winterberry-Juneberry area. By working together and doing a weekly review with our partners, we are seeing improvements as they monitor, patrol, and enforce infractions. Our next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, October the 6th. As directed by Council, letters were sent out on September 27th to Brock University Interim President Lynn Wells and Niagara Regional Police Service Chief Brian McCulloch regarding off-campus student issues, especially high-density student areas within residential neighborhoods. Copy of these letters were also distributed to Council. On Wednesday, September 29th, we held a flag-raising ceremony at City Hall to honor the inaugural National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, which was Thursday, September 30th, a federal statutory holiday which the City of Thorold recognized and observed. Councillors Neal, Decker, and Wilson were in attendance, as well as Regional Councillor Whalen and many city staff. A special thank you to Michelle Elise Burnett, Artistic Director of Celebration of Nations, as well as many other titles and positions, for attending, speaking, and raising the flag at this important ceremony. This Saturday, October 9th, Dan Giancola will be hosting a fundraising bottle drive and barbecue at his fitness club, BTO Performance, located at 106 Ormond Street South. The event runs from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., with the barbecue running from noon till 2 p.m. The Niagara Ice Dog mascot, Bones, will be there between 1 and 2 p.m. Proceeds from this fundraiser will benefit the Grow Community Food Literacy Center. Giving Back Weekend will be held on Friday, October the 15th and Saturday, October the 16th, hosted by the Knights of Columbus at Holy Rosary Hall, 35 Queen Street. It will include a bottle drive, used battery drop-off, and non-perishable food collection. The bottle drive and used battery proceeds will go to support the Walker Family Cancer Center. The food drive items collected will go to the St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank. Fire Prevention Week 2021 runs from October 3rd to October the 9th. The theme this year is Learn the Sound of Fire Safety, and is a great way for our fire department to reinforce the importance of home safety and fire prevention. Please ensure that you have working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms on every level of your home and outside the bedroom area. Develop and practice a home escape plan with your family. Thank you, Thorold Fire and Emergency Services, for all you do to keep our community safe. Dr. Hergy provided the latest public health COVID-19 status update on Friday, October 1st, with the next one scheduled for Friday, October 15th at 2 p.m. Once again, these sessions are live streamed on the Niagara Region website. As we continue in Step 3 of the provincial roadmap to reopen, please continue to follow the public health safety measures. Get vaccinated if you are able to and haven't already done so. Clinics are available by appointment or walk-ins for first and second dose of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. Check out niagararegion.ca/COVID vaccine for more information and answers to commonly asked questions. Beginning September 22nd, Ontarians need to be fully vaccinated, 2 doses plus 14 days, and provide proof of vaccination along with photo ID to access certain public settings and facilities. Detailed information on this and increased capacity limits are available on the provincial website. On behalf of council and city staff, I would like to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving long weekend. And that's the end of my mayor's report. Public meeting. Proposed zoning bylaw amendment, Artisan Ridge Subdivision. Opening remarks and purpose of the meeting. This public meeting is being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended. The city has initiated a housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment to zoning bylaw 2140-97 to remove the open space zoning from Phase 2 as it is not reflected in the approved draft plan, and extend the residential R37H zoning into the former rail line lands. Council will receive and consider all comments received at the public meeting. No decision on this application the applications are being made this evening. Zoning bylaw amendment. Any of the following, no later than 20 days after giving notice, may appeal the decision by filing with the city the notice of appeal that must set out the reasons for the appeal, accompanied by the tribunal's fee. The applicant, a person or public body who, before the amendment and bylaw were passed, made oral submissions at the public meeting or written submissions to council and the minister. If a person or public body did not make an oral submission at a public meeting or provide written submissions to council before the bylaw was passed, the tribunal will determine if there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. For further information on appeals and/or preserving your appeal rights, please speak with the city planner. Up first, presentation from city staff. Bryn O'Neill, our senior planner, and you're up, Bryn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just pull up the presentation here. Okay, so this is a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment for zoning bylaw 214097 for Artisan Ridge subdivision. The location is generally the second phase of the Artisan Ridge subdivision, which is located off of Beaver Dams Road, accessed by Baker Street. It's shown in the red area on the location map. The official plan designation of this subdivision is urban living area and regeneration overlay. The proposed amendment is compatible and consistent with the official plan. This is the draft approved plan for phase 2 of the Artisan Ridge subdivision. This is not proposed to change. The zoning is being proposed to be changed to match the draft approved plan. So the zoning bylaw amendment that staff have initiated is to remove the open space zoning from the perimeter of the subdivision. It's shown in blue on this map. And then the other portion of this amendment is to extend the residential zoning, which is R3-7 holding, into the rail line lands. Now, this rail line no longer exists. It has been removed, and so the residential zoning just needs to be put in place to match the draft approved plan. The draft approved plan was approved in 2019, and at this time, the zoning was not updated to match that plan. At that time, staff had recommended that the open space zoning, which is shown on this map, be removed. However, it wasn't, just due to some timing issues. That was when the new bylaw was 60/2019 was being put in place, and therefore it was not anticipated that the old zoning under 214097 would need to be updated. However, there has been ongoing appeals with the new bylaws specific to the residential zone since then, so this subdivision is still zoned under the old bylaw. In terms of comments, we've received no concerns from city departments or external agencies, and we've received no public comments on the application. So no concerns there. So although brief, that was my presentation. If you have any questions, just let me know. And then the link on this page is the link to the presentation materials on our website.
Thank you, Brent. Open the floor for questions. Are there any questions? I got Councillor DeRose. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Brent, thank you for the presentation. Is there any affordable housing plan for this project that you're aware of?
Through the mayor, I am not certain. I may have to defer to Denise as the plan was approved separately, so I'm not sure of the details.
Denise is on, so I'll turn that question over to Denise. Go ahead, Denise, Manager of Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the mayor, to the councillor. The purpose of this application is just to fix a technical mistake that was not captured previously. This phase, Artisan Phase 2, was previously approved, draft plan approved. This specific application, to my understanding, does not, for the Phase 2, does not have affordable housing, but we have worked, as council is aware, with the owner of these lands for the development of the not-for-profit land that's just south of this.
Go ahead.
One more question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Go ahead.
One of my concerns, I ran through those railroad tracks there for over 30 plus years of my life, and I witnessed tons of wildlife, coyotes, deer, rabbits, rodents. So I know we've got some kind of, we always say that we hold developers accountable about the displacement of rodents. Now, already in that area on Queen Street South, I've received numerous complaints over the years of the foot-long rodents that were displaced in the original, where the original Exelon was. So I'm just wondering, I read this contract that's presented to us. I'm kind of surprised also that it says Mary Dell and then in Thorold in brackets when we know the company's from Woodbridge. But I just want to know, is there any thing in the contract with this developer to contain rodent dispersal once the construction starts, and rodents are going to have to go find somewhere else to live, and animals and wildlife? I'm just surprised we don't take that into account from staff's planning department. Thank you.
Go ahead, Denise.
Through the mayor to the councillor, this was something that council has previously brought to staff's attention that we have looked into. And my understanding is that we do request a rodent management plan for the developer to present to ensure that the displacement is being appropriately addressed. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we need to follow up more adamantly, just because it's whatever these developers are doing, it's not working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRosa. I had Councillor Kenny.
Yeah, I would just like to let everybody know that Councillor DeRose, this is the site where the 60-unit build, where Thorold Nonprofit's going to go. And we've been working with Jeff and the region to try and make sure that this particular site doesn't slow the development down. I think we're being promised the next council meeting the letter to support us with the pumping station there. Maybe Jeff can comment on it.
Is Jeff on? Jeff, go ahead, Director.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We've been working with the
Public
region
Works.
to work out the parameters for the backup in the event of a wet weather event at the pump station that might cause some surcharging there. We've finished the engineering exercise. It's just a matter of getting the commitment from the developer to line up with the requirements from the region. And we expect to have that in the next week or week and a half.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Kenny? Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I want to thank Bryn and Denise for your for the presentation and answering questions. Public participation, public input. Now at this time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak on the applications received? Please indicate to the clerk your desire to speak. Please provide your name and address for the public record. Is there anyone waiting? There's no one. I'll read it one more time. Now at this time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak on the applications received? Please indicate to the clerk your desire to speak. Please provide your name and address for the public record. And we have nobody online, correct? Okay. So I'll move to closing remarks and closing of the meeting. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, pursuant to Section 34. Council will consider staff's recommendation report at a future council meeting date. Please provide your contact information and indicate to the clerk at clerk@thorold.ca. That's clerk@thorold.ca if you wish to receive notice of council's decision. Alternatively, a letter requesting to receive notice of council's decision may be sent to the clerk. As such, the public meeting portion of this application is now closed. And now I move on to civic recognition, and I have Councillor DeRose who's going to provide an update on the Thorold Runway Recognition Award recipients. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just speaking on behalf of Tim Whalen, who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. He's our committee chair on the Thorold Sports Runway Recognition. And this was canceled 2 years ago, so we're going to try to pull it off on October 18th. And I just want to go through some of the inductees. I won't take too much time, but who's getting inducted into the wall are Errol McGibbon, the late Phil Persia, the 1970-71 Midget Silver Stick Hockey Championship team, Ryan Saravelli, Paul Cicchini. Special awards, the Mike Igoroff Award, Junior Athlete of the Year, is going to be presented that night, and the winner will be named that night, as well with the James White Award. The Daryl Mailer Award for Coaching Excellence goes to Bill Maher. Friend of Sport Albert Ciancio Award to Tim Whalen. And the Irene McGinnis Female Athlete of the Year Award, I'm very proud to say one of my former students, Julia Longo, and Anthony's daughter. And Male Athlete of the Year, another former student at Clancy, Randy Gazzola. So a great representation of Thorold residents. Also, the recognition committee team of the year is the Thorold BB Bantam hockey team. And they'll also reintroduce the White Family Foundation Bursary Award, which we already had previously. And also the formal installation of these 2019 inductees into the wall will be made by Mayor Terry Ugolini. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor DeRose. Thank you for that update.
You're welcome.
And now we move on to presentations, and up first I have Donna Harrington from the Harrington Group Limited and the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. She's not here? Okay, so she's not here. If she comes on, we'll bring her on. And so we'll move to a second presentation, which is Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation Services, and Beth Brins, Associate Director, Reporting and Analysis, Region of Niagara. And I'll turn this over to Carolyn and Beth. Are they both here?
Hi, Mary Galini. We're just getting set up here.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, we can see you now, Carolyn and Beth.
Great.
And who's there's a third person that I don't have on my sheet, but I'll let you.
Okay. It's okay, Mary Galini. I'll do introductions. I just wanted to say hello, good evening to yourself and to City Council. Just wanted to say we're pleased to be here tonight. Thank you for having us. We've done a slight change, Mary Galini, just with regards to who we have here based on availability. I got Frank Tassoni here, who is the Associate Director of Transportation Engineering. So he's going to be assisting with running through the capital project overview, our 1 to 5 year outlook. And I have Pam Miltonberg in place of Beth, who's assisting with regards to how we put together our processes around the capital budgeting. So she's been instrumental, obviously, in helping with our outlook and with the presentation here tonight. So between the three of us, we're going to answer any questions with regards to what we're presenting tonight. And again, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next slide, Pam. So I thought I would start off by just refreshing everyone in council with regards to our 1 to 5 year capital forecast. Keeping in mind that we work closely with Jeff and staff on your end with regards to how we're putting our draft forecast together. Being mindful that the 2022 capital budget is before us and it's going to council this Thursday. We put together an outlook and it's a forecast, and again, pending how things are analyzed and approved on a yearly annual basis, similar to yourselves, there's movement with how projects can move throughout our different forecasts. It's important to note that we're highlighting projects that are instrumental to us, and we're really working with communication with staff on your end to work together on making sure where there's cost share opportunities similar to what's happening outside the regional building in the city of Thorold, that we've got those right communication and different elements from a partnering and cost sharing perspective outlined. The presentation is also going to talk to a 10-year capital outlook. Again, this is our best gauge on how we look at our road network, our bridges, and our other infrastructure in consultation again with your staff. And again, it's the draft proposal, and things will move from year to year based on need, urgency, and other projects that come to the table. We're also going to provide a safety initiative update. There's a lot of information I'd like to bring forward with regards to the Vision Zero and the next steps around that. And then larger regional vision items that are brought forward and talked to at Public Works here at the region and with our regional council. And again, just to make sure everyone's informed of those different initiatives and the impacts in your community.
Thank you. Can we need to get the PowerPoint up here though?
Can you, that's what we just wanted to confirm. Can you see it, Mary Galini, or not?
No, we can't.
Okay, well, just
Now it looks like we're gonna be good. I'm just waiting for, there we are. We've got it now.
okay, thank you. Thanks for flagging that for us. We wanted to confirm. So Pam, we can move to the next slide. So we wanted to start by just refreshing everyone with regards to the 4 main areas. When the region is putting forward the transportation capital budget program, that we concentrate on network expansion, intersection improvement program, our roads rehabilitation program, and our structure rehabilitation program. If I can just go through each of the definitions again, because these are instrumental again with what we put forward as part of our capital budget process. When we're talking about a network expansion, many of you probably have heard the region talk to something referred to as our transportation master plan. This is our guiding document that talks to, for example, road widenings, existing road networks that need to be expanded or constructed brand new. So it's really the visionary tool on how we're expanding the network based on capacity improvement, development in the area to accommodate growth and what could be happening along the regional road network. When we refer to something as part of our capital budget program under the intersection improvement program, this deals with strategic intersections that the region looks at. It could be looking at improving safety. So for example, adding turn lanes if they don't already exist with curb and gutter. It could be looking at putting in a brand new signal. So it could be a rebuild and to update that and include for brand new AODA standards. And it has to do also with signage and pavement marking. So that falls under anything related to our intersection improvement program. When we talk about a roads rehabilitation program, I think the one that most are familiar with is our hot mix program. This is when we're out in the community. It's where we would do a shave of the cross section. We're not digging deep. We're not typically replacing it with lots of utility replacement. And again, it's just coming through to increase the longevity of the platform out on the regional road network for a future rehabilitation or reconstruct down the road. So that's what the roads rehab program is. And then the structure rehabilitation program, where we're dealing with our bridges, is dealing with rehabilitation work. Again, there's works that we want to add to the bridge or to the platform that deal with slight deficiencies, again, to extend the service life of the bridge versus a full bridge replacement, which is a much larger and more costly venture at the end of the service life of a bridge structure that we put forward, when the bridge comes to its end of its service life. I wanted to know across the 1 to 5 year, prior to turning it over to Frank to give you an update as to what is in our draft budget, across the 1 to 5 year outlook, again, as we move through those processes with council and get the proper approvals with regards to programs for all the different strategic priorities we're putting forward for all of Niagara region, there is an estimated investment of around $17 million that we'll be putting into the city of Thorold, again, across our 1 to 5 year now currently in the draft. And pending the 2022 capital budget approval, which we're going to be seeking this Thursday, we're looking for about a $1.5 million investment in Thorold in 2022. So I'm going to pass it over to Frank to talk about the programs that we're targeting in the city of Thorold.
Hey, thank you, and thanks for having us tonight. So the first project that we're going to discuss is our Regional Road 37 Merritt Road extension. So this is the extension of Merritt Road from Rice Road to Niagara Street and continuing on from there to the 406. And currently have an EA underway on this section of road, and city staff have been involved, as have the public, in that process. And we have construction funds in the 1 to 5 year forecast for this project. The next project that we have is Collier Road from Highway 58 to Beaver Dams Road. And this will be the last section of urbanization of Collier Road that will finish off the section that goes from Richmond Street out to Beaver Dams. Recognizing the development that is happening in the local area, we do have funds in the 1 to 3 year forecast to run an environmental assessment, and funds in the 1 to 5 year forecast in order to facilitate construction of this section. Okay, the next project is Pine Street. So the region is cost sharing with the city on this project. The city is leading the project on behalf of the partners, and the region is cost sharing on road platform improvements there and utility improvements with respect to illumination. So we have money allocated to our 1 to 3 year forecast to cost share with the city on this project. And I'm sure that you've seen on your travels around the city that St. David's Road from Collier back to the 406 is coming very near completion. That road section was on the Ontario Worst Roads list for quite some time. And we've made significant investment along with the city of St. Catharines and the city of Thorold to upgrade the platform, including active transportation and geometric improvements. So that project is coming to a end, the completion very shortly, and happy to see that that road section is looking quite a bit better. And the last project that we have is in our structures program, which is Highway 20 Bridge. This is the truss bridge that is slightly to the west of the Allenberg Lift Bridge. The region carried out some emergency repairs on that structure a couple of years ago to get us through, and we have a consultant being retained currently, and we'll work through the detailed design with the intentions of putting out a construction tender to fully replace this bridge at some point in 2022. I'm going to pass it back over to Carolyn now to speak about some safety initiatives.
Thanks, Frank. So under the safety initiatives coming out of the region, there has been huge dialogue and approvals with regards to the launch of the Vision Zero Road Safety Program. The reason why I'm highlighting this here this evening is the intent is to come back to the city of Thorold, where we'll be looking for council approval with regards to the program and changes that we're looking to make to the intermunicipal agreement, which is the roles and responsibilities between the region and each of the 12 municipalities. So there'll be a subsequent meeting that that transportation will come back. We'll be walking through the automated speed enforcement, the red light camera program that we're going to be proposing, the duration of what we're looking to do with that technology, and again, looking for the support from each of the municipalities with the approval in order to get that program up and running with the intent to get it going in 2022. If I could just mention, and there'll be a lot more to come on this program when I come back to council, is that we do require a unanimous approval across all the LAMs, including regional council with the IMA changes, in order to get the program running. We don't anticipate that there'd be any reason for that not to be the case. We're working with your staff in the background, and we'll be coming forward with an approval report that accompany our presentation and ask, and we'll work with Jeff and his staff prior to coming. With regards to just general safety matters and working with Mayor Ugolini and others, safety has been a top priority for transportation. It always is at the region. There have been a huge number of different initiatives, whether it's within the Vision Zero Road Safety Program that we're trying to launch, or even other initiatives that are well into the way outside of that. We've got our speed display trailer, which we have 2 of them. We pull them around the region based on any inquiry or request related to speeding. It's a very good awareness tool for drivers on different roadways to understand how fast they're moving. Also for us to collect data to do the correct analysis, to work in partnership with the NRP if we need a selective enforcement, as well as to look if it's warranted for any speed reductions, which is something we've worked very closely with the mayor on with regards to Beaver dams, for example. When we talk about pavement line markings and crosswalks, there's a big program with the region going around to ensure on an annual basis that we're dealing with all road marking. And we just started a more durable crosswalk program that we've been rolling out with just a small number of crosswalks. And then the plan would be to roll that more durable product out across all of the region based on our initial pilot there. And then the last is just dealing with sign installations. Anything we can do to provide awareness to speeds, awareness to community safety zones, or anything, again, just providing enhanced driver awareness out on the roads. We're happy to do that. We get a lot of air brake requests, with trying to reduce that on the roads, and anything to do with that, we're happy to do that. with the sign group under transportation. And again, we work closely with your staff on any of those requests as need be. Thanks, Pam. And then just to close, before we open up the floor to any questions you may have about the regional programs, around more of the vision setting items, currently the region is working on something referred to as our complete streets set of guidelines. There is a large stakeholders group that currently is underway that includes representatives, not only here at the region, but across all of the 12 municipalities. And what it is looking to do is it's looking to identify the different road cross sections. So for example, from a rural all the way up to an urban cross section. And then it's to talk about a consistent set of criteria that we would measure those roads. So for example, what the platform width may be, whether sidewalks would be something that would be installed, types of lighting, landscape features. And obviously when I talk about those sorts of items, they lend themselves more towards a semi-urban or an urban cross section. It talks to active transportation in different modes. So what's really strategic and important about the complete streets typologies and the guidelines we're working through right now is that we're looking really to work with each of the LAMs on a consistent set of guidelines, roles and responsibilities that we're all going to be working towards, again, as we identify the regional road network. And then we'll be working with each of the LAMs as we move forward on any major rehabilitations or reconstructions that we enhance according to the different items, criteria that we outline under the set of these guidelines. There'll be more, Mayor Ugolini, for this to come back to Public Works and ultimately to Council for approval around what we're going to be suggesting under complete streets. But again, we're doing this in consultation with each of the different LAMs because it truly is a partnership, and we want to make sure that we're all lined up on the vision for these different typologies as we try and roll them out throughout all of Niagara region. Regional wayfinding, you can see the picture to the right there, which shows different directional signage. Regional wayfinding is an initiative we would like to begin, and we'll be coming back to Council here at the region for approval during a subsequent budget year once the complete streets typologies is complete. We feel that this would be the next stage to the program, now that we've got the topologies and the vision set for how we want those to look and feel. And again, take a multimodal approach, not just the vehicle driven approach, the wayfinding and how we move across the different municipalities will be key across the regional road network. And again, there'll be the same regional, the regional perspective of pulling the LAMs together through a stakeholders group, and then we'll come to a consensus and working with wayfinding each of the municipalities have already have into play, and how we can translate that into a consistent or a more specific municipal outlook on the regional road network. So that's something exciting that'll be coming up in an upcoming budget year, not in 2022 down the road. And then the last thing just to highlight, just so everyone is aware, is the Niagara-Hamilton Trade Corridor, the North-South Escarpment Crossing. These are very large programs that require federal, provincial, regional, municipal support in launching them. Mayor Ugolini and others are very well versed in the work the region has been doing in concert with the LAMs, but also with our partners at MTO and others on talking about how we advance these programs to support trade, you know, a redundant highway network, how we can move up and down the escarpment with truck traffic. So there's strategic work that's been underway. Those conversations and preliminary works are underway here at the region. The important thing just to note on this is we appreciate the continued partnership as again that we as we advocate with our different representatives outside of Niagara region to help with funding due to the cost to implement these programs, which are in the multi-millions to get them completed, and they're very large engineering and construction related projects. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for having the region. We're happy to open it up to any questions with regards to anything we've talked about this evening, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mary Galini.
Okay, can we get back to gallery view? And then I got Councillor DeRose up first. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Carolyn, thank you very much. I read through your presentation on the weekend, and I'm really excited about the safety initiatives. I'm on the active transportation and a new regional road safety committee, and specifically your Vision Zero implementation of that program. It's a great thing for the area with our population growing. I'm very concerned about the speeding. I think that's one of the most calls I've been getting lately, besides other issues to do with students. But I'm also glad to receive in one of our discussion reports tonight a letter from the clerk, regional clerk Anne Marie, is it Norio, and talking about reducing speed limits to 40. So I know the region is actually looking at amending the traffic act so we can lower speed limits in communities to 40. So great initiative. You will have my backing 100%. The only thing that I want to stress to you is, and I've talked to Paul Webb, who was on the new road safety committee with us, and he's in charge of traffic safety, and I think we need to get an increase in the visibility of NRP, especially in these speeding zones, because all these initiatives will come together with a little more police presence. I don't know if we have to put more funding into it, but I know Paul said a lot of times he's getting officers pulled from his shifts to go help with other crimes that they feel are more significant. But I think the safety issue is a huge issue, especially for children in our area. Thank you again, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you, Councillor DeRose. Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. A good report, and I'd like to see we're spending money on good, solid construction initiatives. The one place that I think that maybe we need to look at a little bit further, and I'm looking at Dams Road, going west from there, all the way to Collier Road, that section, and I believe Councillor DeRose did bring it up at a former meeting regarding some of the safety issues along that. And because we have a new subdivision that has come on stream along that section of road, I think we need to look at it for sidewalks and more visibility and straightening the road out and those types of things that need to be happening. So it may not be tonight's meeting that we look at that, but I think we should put it on our agenda for future to the region looking at that particular part of Beaver Dams Road.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Is there any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
Excuse me, I've asked about this before. I know it's a city road, but I'll ask again. Cataract Road, the changes that have been made in that area with the regional water treatment plant, with the hospital being built in St. Catharines, with all the new housing in St. Catharines, with more housing in Port Robinson West, that city road is getting overused. And I think when they were speaking earlier about regional roads, and I don't know if I understood it properly, but some of these roads should be transferred to the region, because it's no longer a city road. Like I say, with the regional water treatment plant and all the housing in St. Catharines and the hospital, more people than ever are traveling on that road. And it's getting to the point where it's getting very deteriorated. So either the city or the region is going to have to do something. And I'd like to work together with the region on this road and get something done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Are there any further questions? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There has been a road I've been getting a lot of concerns and complaints about, which would be Ormond Street, where it meets Front Street. I believe Ormond Street is a regional road, correct?
No, it's a city road if I'm not.
Oh, it's not. Okay, never mind then. I thought that was regional since it connects to Merritt. Okay,
Thank you.
I'll save that for another time.
No,
Thank you for your presentation.
It's a good point, though. It's a good point.
No, it's very, very dangerous. So we'll have to bring that up, and I'll send emails, I guess.
I think there's something coming up under statement by councillors. Is there any further questions? Okay, seeing then, Carolyn and Frank and Pam, I want to thank you for coming to council presenting. I just want to say I thank you because, you know, I've been pushing on, and I want to thank you for getting the speed signs and lowering the speed on Beaver Dams Road and Merritt Road, and also Town Line Road between Thoroldstone Road and Beaver Dams Road. Those are important initiatives that council brought forward, and region made sure that happened. You know, we have a request in to continue Town Line Road from Beaver Dams Road up to Chippewa Creek Road, as well as Niagara Falls, so I hope that's something that we can move on. And I think that the other thing, which you know I've talked about, is I really like the road safety where we're heading and zero vision, and I think that I've talked to you, we have 2 elementary schools on Collier Road, and the one school's expanding, so I think that's an area we should have another look at and focus in on, because Richmond Street and Clancy, which will be changed to, I think, Holy Rosary is, Councilor DeRose, is that going to be the new name of that school, Holy Rosary School? What's...
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. And
Okay.
Great point you're bringing up. Thank you.
So when students from the 2 schools merge together, there'll be quite a large school population at both schools. But once again, I want to thank you, and we really appreciate you coming, and I appreciate council getting all this information. I get some of this at the region, but it's nice that this is presented to our council, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ugolini and council for having us tonight. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to motions for council support, City of Thorold. And I have a mover, Councillor Wilson, and a seconder, Councillor Neal, and I'll turn this over to Councillor Wilson.
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Is it me?
Yeah, you're up for motions for
Okay,
council support.
sorry, it went all quickly. Okay, so that council request, the Director of Planning and Development review the disposal of real property policy 510-14, and that council requests that a report be brought back for consideration on recommendations on changes to the policy. And can I speak to that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, you can, Councillor Wilson.
So the reason I did speak about last council, why this is coming forward, is that it would be ideal to have a policy that outlines exactly how we take or how we dispose of real property, and hopefully including that a process where it goes on MLS and and we also have an appraisal based on its possible use, not just its current use, so that we are actually returning money to the city and not requiring as much from our taxpayers. I think all too often, sometimes the advice that we get is based on its current use, which, you know, as a road allowance wouldn't be worth much, but knowing that somebody's going to put like 150 homes on it, I think that changes the value of the property. So I'm really hoping that staff looks at what's better for the city and reduces, you know, things that we require our citizens to pay. So,
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on that? So I have a mover, Councillor Wilson, a second, Councillor Neal. All those, did you want to speak on that, Councillor DeRose, or you're just voting?
Sorry, I was going to second it. I didn't know Councillor Neal already did.
No, it's
Thank
Councillor
you.
Neal. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Motions to receive and file minutes or adopt recommendations of council committees, boards. Minutes to review for information purposes. Mover, Councillor Kenny. Seconder, Councillor Hanley, that council receive and file the minutes of the committees of council boards as presented. 12A1, Thorold Public Library Board. 12A2, Darlene Ryan, Port Robinson Community Center. And 12A3, Age Friendly Committee. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Minutes to endorse recommendation, moved by Councillor DeRose and seconded by Councillor Sentence, that the following members of the Thorold Runway Recognition Committee receive complimentary tickets, they're worth $20 each, to the Runway Gala at John Michael's Banquet Center on October 18th, 2021. Tim Whalen, Chair, Cindy Dixon, Marcia Capola, Jim Hill, Ed Pizzo, Al McGinnis, and that the complimentary tickets be given to the above-mentioned members for all their efforts put forward to plan the event, and that council approve that the complimentary tickets be funded by the previously approved community grants budget. Anyone want to speak to that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Statement by councilors. Up first, Councilor Sentence request to support to extend portable facilities and parks to October 31st, 2021. Go ahead, Councilor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Neal. That council requests the Director of Public Works and Community Services to extend portable facilities in the Port Robinson Park until October 31st, 2021. And that council requests $1,000 for the one location at the Port Robinson Park be paid through from the repairs, maintenance, building, and grounds budget. And that council requests staff to include the extension of all portable facilities in Thorold Parks until the end of October each year in the future budgets. And if I could speak to it,
Absolutely. Go ahead, Councilor Sentence.
I just want to say I think this makes sense for this area for the because of the bridge and it being open, the ferry still being open right now, and that I think it was an oversight by us that to not have these facilities there longer. October can be very nice, and it's easily fixed with this statement tonight, and that staff had only followed our direction when they take things out or when they do things. When they took them out of there, they were just following our protocols. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sentence. I got Councilor Neal. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilor Sentence. The environment has changed over the years. It's getting warmer later in the year, which is a good thing for me. And I believe we want to make sure that it's not just Port Robinson Park that's included in this, is that we have a number of other parks that have either standalone washrooms or porta potties. And because we not get rid of, but the casual workers stop working probably around the middle of September is the reason that we in the past have put this in as taking them out around the middle of September. So I agree with the motion that Councilor Sentence is putting forward, and maybe we need to look at a number of other things that are happening in our community regarding the environment and that in the future.
And I think that the motion speaks to that at the last statement in that motion.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Thank you. Councilor Hanley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'll support it. Also, I think what we should look in the big picture is that our goal should be putting permanent washrooms, as is going to be the occurrence at Port Robinson Park East, where any of these outdoor facilities are. Seeing the current situations that we're in the last couple of years, and health and safety, hygiene, so on and so forth, Johnny on the spot isn't the best of a hygienist's place, you might say. So I think our long-term goal should be looking at putting permanent facilities in. Like we have a master plan, we have a transportation plan, a recreation plan. Maybe we should get into a public washroom facility plan, and each year in the budget, start installing permanent washrooms, and then we could rid ourselves of Johnny on the spots and get more permanent facilities, which I think should be the ultimate goal in regards to especially what we're seeing occurring today, and what the future may hold, we don't know.
Thank you, Councilor Hanley. Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Councilor Decker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilor Sentence's motion. I guess my question is, prior to this coming to council, could a decision have been made through the CAO to have reinstated the porta potties before it came to council? Would that have been a possibility, or did it have to come to council for approval?
Go ahead, CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's more of a policy decision, and that requires council approval. In the future, if these kind of situations come to our attention, we could, if council so decide, we can inform council by writing emails and get some direction from that. That'll be good. Then we don't have to come through or wait for a council meeting to happen to satisfy this request. The concern the staff had is that if we go over and above what was assigned by council, that these porta potties has to be removed when the splash pad season is over. And if we would have gone ahead and did it at one location based on the request from residents, then we probably would have got similar requests from other areas as well. And it is more of a level of service decision, as Director of Public Works and Community Services has indicated in his email to council, and that is the reason we were seeking direction from council on this matter. But in the future, if council so decide that if these kind of decision has to be taken by myself or the director, we'll be happy to do that, and we can inform council or takes approval even on an email basis, or just provide us with that direction, and we'll be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Decker?
Yeah, thank you. And I think that would be a good idea sometimes to get those types of things through email. Thank you, CAO and Mayor.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to check with Jeff. I believe he said if we pass this tonight, it could be in tomorrow, or the porta potty could be there tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Through Mr. Mayor, that's correct. If you pass it tonight, and the porta potty will be functional as of tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have the mover, Councillor Sentence, seconder, Councillor Neal. Did you want to speak, Councillor Kenny? Go ahead.
Yes, I did. You said they'll be in tomorrow. Which ones and where, Jeff? Because I was asked about Mel Swart Park, and so I'm just wondering where they're going.
Through Mr. Mayor, we made arrangements to have one available to be ready to go for tomorrow morning at Port Robinson East Park, but we can modify that order if you wish.
Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
Yes, I would like one at Mel Swart Park is used very much right now, and I was asked by somebody that if we could get one there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, then modify the motion instead of one location, then specify two. Thank you.
So did you want to put an amendment, Councillor Kenny, to add Mel Swart?
I'll ask Councillor Sentence if he would do that.
Friendly amendment?
Yep, thanks. That's good.
Okay. Councillor Hanley, did you want to speak to that?
No, I was just going to speak on make a friendly amendment, and then we could have it
Okay,
done.
so it's a friendly amendment, so it's included now, and that's going,
So can
Through the mayor to members of council, so right now we would amend it to say the two parks, and that council requests the $2,000 for the two locations to be paid through the repairs, maintenance, building and grounds budget.
okay? Is that good with everyone? So we don't need to vote on the amendment because it's a friendly amendment, correct? So we're going to vote on the whole motion, correct? Okay, so mover, Councillor Sentence, seconder, Councillor Neal. Does anyone else want to speak before we go to the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Up next, Councillor DeRose requests a report on best practice dealing with property damage in large-scale gatherings in residential areas. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. Just a little background to what I'm requesting. There has been reports of parties, mostly student parties, that are carrying on into the street, disrupting neighborhoods and residents. Residents are feeling threatened and intimidated and a little bit afraid. The police are doing their due diligence, but as soon as they leave, the parties continue. So I think, and I spoke to Manoj about this, and I know if you're having a party in the backyard, I can see that being different, but as long as you're fenced in. But when we start getting into these numbers, I think one of the suggestions I'm thinking, but I know staff, I'm sure will come up with good suggestions, is to have a permit. If you're going to have a party with over a certain amount of people, you have to get a permit. And if not, the people living at the house and the landlord are penalized, and I mean severely, because this is getting out of control. I just got a text and an email yesterday about Juneberry. There's 150 to 200 people. I know it's homecoming. There's still no excuse. On Garden Street, parties going from house to house. Cops come, break it up, and then they start again. So I don't want this. I don't want this to continue in Thorold. So we have to, I think, be proactive and start taking this serious. So here's my request to my fellow councilors and mayor. The council requests the Director of Planning and Development Services to report back on best practices from other university towns on how to deal with property damages and concerns from students, and that the report include options on how to deal with contraventions of residential licensing permits, the Residential Tenancies Act, and property standard violations, and that a copy of the report be forwarded to the Ontario Landlords Association. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's moved by Councillor DeRose and seconded by Councillor Neal. Okay, any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
I agree with Councillor DeRose, but this has been a long ongoing issue, not for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, 10 years, over a decade. And it's only continuing and becoming more prevalent in more areas of our city. At one time, it was segregated to one area, and then it's been filtering out more, where now it's encompassing our entire downtown core, you might say, through Confederation Heights, into the old part of town, into our downtown core, into the Garden Street area. We need to do something. And this could be even as a municipality, we may be able to pass a bylaw ourselves, limiting and requesting that you have to apply for a permit for parties over a specific amount of individuals. I think we could already have the power to put that in place ourselves. It's just the fines that we would have to go outside our parameters of councillors to see what the limit of fines could be through the provincial court system. So I support Councillor DeRose and his initiative wholeheartedly. We need to do something. It's getting out of hand. And as he mentioned, in these areas, the police show up. As soon as they leave, it continues. And we've been saying far too long, for too many years, they're just kids having fun. You know, what's a little bit of damage here and there, but it's when I get letters like we did from some residents that they're intending on selling their long-term family homes and moving out of town, that you can see the impact that these students are having. Residents that have made their life here in Thorold and feel no option but to pack up and move out of town. And that's not the municipality I want to see Thorold to be. So I wholeheartedly support it, and we need to start putting the hammer down.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And actually, Councilor DeRose took my thunder, because that was mainly what I was going to mention in one of my statements by councilors. But I'd just like to go back, and we all know that over the last weekend or two, the city of Hamilton and McMaster University, and my cousin lived across the street from there, and they moved out because of the parties, and it's getting a lot worse from what I understand in Hamilton. Same thing in London, same thing in Kingston, same thing in Ottawa, same thing at the Dalhousie University in Halifax. So the issue is not just locally. Actually, it wasn't too bad as far as I was concerned locally, because when I look at what happened in Hamilton and London and elsewhere, we got off lightly. Not that I'm making light of it, because I think anything like what has happened over the last few weeks and the last few years, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm glad to see the mayor did send the letter to both the NRP and Brock University regarding the issues that they should be bringing up. Specifically, Brock University should be in their code of conduct, should be fining these people or giving them a semester off or whatever should happen. When the police give a ticket out to these people, and they have given a number of tickets over the last weekend or two, is that along with it is a decree from the university that you do not come back for a semester. I think we need to when we discuss it with the university specifically, that this is what they should be doing. And I agree that and as far as the landlords are concerned, and I'm glad that Councillor DeRose brought up that particular motion, is that when the parties are going on and the police issue tickets on that particular piece of property, is that they should be phoned at 3 o'clock in the morning and asked to come down to peruse their property and make sure that the students are behaving on their particular property. So I don't know how we would do that in order to put it in our bylaws and procedures, but I think we need to take a look at that also, because when you when you phone a landlord who's in Toronto or somewhere else and make them come down to clean up their property and give them a fine, maybe, as is in our motion, is that things will get done. But we need to have a couple of pronged attack. And one of them is through the university and one of them is through the landlords. And so I don't know what else we can do yet, but I think we can continue on this road till we solve the problem. And maybe it's a matter of having all the mayors and town and gown committees across the different communities that are involved with universities and colleges to sit down and say, what can we do? And put a plan in place.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
Just to add to Councillor DeRose's a statement there, when he talked about a permit, I think that's a great idea. And on that permit, when the person applies, it would be the tenant and the landlord both signing. So the landlord can't say, I didn't know anything was going on. I think that's a great idea, Councillor DeRose, and if we get the landlord signing that they know there's a party going on with this permit, then we can hold them accountable.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really like this motion that Councillor DeRose brought up. I think it would be helpful. It'd be great if we could get the landlord to sign it if that's legal. I think also in the Landlord Tenant Act, I know if you have other tenants in the building, you can evict legally somebody who is not making the living situation livable for the other tenants in the building. I'm not sure if that applies to neighbors, but I'm sure there could be a case made for that. So if we have a way to make the landlord accountable, like what Councillor Councillor DeRose, I apologize, is suggesting, then I think that would give also the landlords some teeth to be able to do something legally to evict tenants that aren't behaving as well. That's just my thoughts, but you definitely have my support for this. I think it's a great idea. And if we can get the university on board, just like Councillor Neal was talking about, I think that is the second prong that will really help. But this is something we can control, so I'm all for supporting it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, before I go to a vote, I just want to say any tools that we can improve on and anything we can do to make things better is a positive move forward. I can tell you we work extremely hard with our partners and we are making improvements, but we still have a way to go, and anything we can do to make it better for our residents, by all means, we should be doing it. So I'll take this to a vote. Again, I had a mover, Councillor DeRose, and seconder, Councillor Neal. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Up next, I have Councillor Neal. Request to support for the Office of the Mayor to contact landlords to take greater responsibility for student rentals. Go ahead, Councillor Neal, you're up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Actually, Councillor DeRose brought most of the information that I wanted to bring forward, so I will withdraw that particular motion.
Okay. I will tell you, though, that our chief billing official is working closely with our CAO, and a letter will be sent out to all the landlords. So just to let you know that was in the works anyways, and that's another positive step forward, okay? Councillor Neal, request for report regarding traffic concerns at Portland and Ormond, and this might tie into what Councillor Wilson was bringing up earlier, okay? So you, go ahead, I have a mover, Councillor Neal, and a seconder, Councillor Kenny. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've had a couple of phone calls regarding that section of Ormond Street from where the Battle of Beaver Dams Park is all the way down to the Brewers Retail. And since we took out the tracks, guess what? They're speeding along there at lots of, 50 miles an hour and forward. And my concern is that at Portland and Ormond though, is that particular corner, that's where our parking lot is going to be for the Battle of Beaver Dams Park, and it's been expanded, so there's gonna be a lot more cars coming out of that intersection. And as we know, Portland Street, it's been a difficult place for cars to come in and out of or turn into. And along that area, the speeding is becoming more prevalent. So I would like to put a motion forward to have staff bring back a report about traffic concerns at the corner of Portland and Ormond and along that section of Ormond Street to the Brewers Retail.
Okay, speakers to that. Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support it fully. If we remember when we brought up the project that was occurring on Chapel Street and Portland Street, I brought up then, why aren't we considering putting in a three-way stop sign on the corner of Portland and Ormond Street to slow down traffic turning right up Portland, because that was being used as a thoroughfare to get over to the Canals Parkway. So I support it wholeheartedly. We should have already been looking at this, I believe. It was a concern of council previous and had been mentioned during public meetings that took place. So I support it 100%. It's time that we need to address it. And as Councillor Neal mentions, it's only going to get busier there. The neighborhoods are getting busier. Traffic's more prevalent in town, especially with Artisan Heights. It's going to have more people. Downtown shoppers, we're revitalizing the park. We revitalize. So we need to do something to calm the traffic down. So I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Councillor Hanley. And Councillor Wilson, did that look after the concern that you were discussing, or it'll?
No, actually, the location I was talking about was further down Ormond Street by the Early Bird, where Front Street North meets it. And I don't know if the name changes right there as it turns, but there's a dealership, a car dealership on the corner. And I've had multiple complaints from people. I think I sent an email a few months ago, but I don't know if anything came of it. But when you're on Front Street and you're trying to turn left, like you can't see it all because of where those cars are parked, and the street turns as well. And Front Street comes on an angle. So it's quite bad, and people speed there as well. So I'm always just worried that somebody's going to get in some sort of accident.
Okay.
I just think that we should have like a four-way stop or a one-way. It's a one-way stop, obviously, for the front people exiting Front Street, but on Ormond Street, it would be good if it was a three-way stop.
I think the CEO, did you want to speak on that? Because that's part of that report on, is that part of the St. David's Road?
Yeah, that will come later on, but what we can actually do is, as a part of this motion that Councillor Neal has indicated, that we review the intersection of Portland and Ormond, we can add this intersection to that motion as well, so staff can look at both the locations. Thank you.
Would you take that as a friendly amendment, Councillor Neal?
That's a good and friendly amendment.
Okay, so we're going to add the corner of Ormond in front. Is that and Town Line Road or whatever it's called? Yeah. Okay, so we added that to the motion, that staff report back on both areas. Okay. Is there anyone that wants to speak further to that? And it was a friend. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree 100%. I noticed St. Catherine's put just past where Victoria's talking about, St. Catherine's put a three-way stop, and I think it's working there, just a block down on their property. So I'll support this 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
Jeff, I can't see it, but I hear you. Go ahead, Jeff.
My video's been blocked.
Okay.
However, I just wanted to let you know that the EA for St. David's Road identified the need for traffic signals at that location. And that in the report that's later on the agenda dealing with the phasing of St. David's Road, you'll see that that's one of the first phases that's being recommended, subject to budget approval. And so for us to move ahead with any additional work at this time might be premature.
Okay, so do we go back to the original motion, or I'll wait? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think keep the two intersections in there. Yes, we have done an EA, and we have a phasing plan how to improve it, depending on how soon we can. And again, when the report comes back on these two requests, we can state that as well. So the need for safety is there, as highlighted by Councilor Wilson. Thank you.
Oh, they're both highlighted. Okay, I agree. Okay, so then they're both staying in. Any further speakers? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Consent reports. I have a mover, Councillor Sentence, and a seconder, Councillor Wilson, that council approve items 15A to 15D as presented. Is there anyone that wants to pull an item, or are we taking them all together? I don't see anyone pulling an item, so I have a mover, Councillor Sentence, and a seconder, Councillor Wilson, that council approve items 15A to 15D as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Discussion reports. 16A, PWCS 2021-04, Sullivan Avenue, Claremont Street, Front Street South, Capital Project Update Report. And I'll turn this over to our Director of Public Works and Community Services, Jeff Holman. Go ahead, Jeff. Jeff, you're muted. Okay, you're good now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that council approve the changes to the scope of the project as outlined in the report. And two, that funding the amount of $54,855 excluding HST, $1,163 excluding HST, and $3,205 excluding HST be allocated from the Transportation Asset Replacement Reserve, Water Reserve, and Sanitary Sewer Reserve respectively. And three, that the construction phase for Sullivan Avenue, Claremont, Front Street South project, estimated to cost $3.2 million, be rescheduled in the capital forecast to 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And that was a mover, Councillor Longo, and a seconder, Councillor Decker. And I'll open it up for any comments or questions to our Director of Public Works and Community Services. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 2021-49 Broderick Avenue Road Reconstruction Project Update. I have a mover, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence. And again, I turn this over to Jeff Holman, Director of Public Works and Community Services.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation for this report is that council approve the phasing strategy for Broderick Avenue Road Reconstruction Project. And two, that a budget adjustment in the amount of $20,000 plus HST for the revisions to the project design and tender documents be approved and funded from the Transportation Asset Replacement Reserve. And three, that the Broderick Avenue Road Reconstruction Project Phase 1 be referred to the 2022 capital budget deliberations for consideration.
Thank you, Jeff. And once again, I turn this over to the floor for questions. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 2021-63 Municipal Operations Center Project Update. I have a mover, Councillor Neal, and a seconder, Councillor DeRose. And again, I turn this over to Jeff Holman. And Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation for this report is that the design for the Municipal Operations Center project be approved and referred to the 2022 capital budget deliberations for consideration. Thank you.
And again, I open this floor up for questions to our director, and I have Councillor Longo up first. Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Holman. My understanding, recollection is that council had approved this project, I'm going to say probably 6 years ago, and the amount given to us at that time was a little over $2 million. And my understanding or recollection is that we've already included this in budget, and this has been being collected from the tax base for the last 5 or 6 years. Can I get comments? Is my recollection correct?
Jeff, do you want that, or is Maria on one of you, I would think?
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, the history going back that far, but perhaps Director of Finance can help us out with the financial part of that question.
Maria, our Director of Finance, are you on? Yep, there you are.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I am. Yeah, the project has been on the books for a number of years. The original amount was, I believe, just shy of $2 million. I can, if you give me a moment, I can look up what it was in the latest round.
Mr. Mayor, while you're waiting, I can tell you that the original scope of the work, a $2 million project 6 years ago, did not include some of the work that we're doing as part of this project, in particular, expansion of the parking area and some of the environmental work that's now a requirement for us to complete this work. There has been an escalation in costs over the years. And as a result, we're finding things like steel and asphalt being much more expensive. You know, whether it triples or not is another question, but I don't think the project that's being proposed here is what was originally envisioned 6 years ago.
Okay, Maria, did you want to go before I get
Yeah,
Councillor
sure, Mr.
Longo?
Mayor. When I look at the current year budget, it's just a carry forward amount of $1 million, roughly $1,050,000. But if I go from memory, I believe the total was probably, I'm going to guess, $2.9 million. Part of that money has been used. While it started out as the operations center, it sort of changed over the years, and it became a staffing accommodation project with some of the works that were scheduled to be done at the operations center actually done at City Hall to make space for the growing staff. So you are correct, Councillor Longo. The money has been collected for a number of years. There's about $122,000 that's being used to fund what's been spent on the project to date. I don't have that number right now. I can provide that to council tomorrow in terms of what's been spent versus what has been collected. But that was, to my recollection, the number. I think it grew from 1.8 to 2.9 over the years.
Thank you. Councillor Longo, continue. Go ahead. Yeah.
To Director of Finance, thank you very much for that answer. So can I just understand what we're doing tonight then? We are approving design for this project, but we're not exactly approving the project. That'll come to the 22 budget deliberation.
And Jeff, is that correct? That's the way I understand it, but Jeff?
Mr. Mayor, council's already approved the design and we're at just about 100% completion now. What we're trying to do here is provide some information to council so that when you see this item show up in the 2022 capital budget, first of all, there's not going to be the sticker shock. There's going to be, hopefully it provides you with some background information on the change in the scope of the work and the scope of the project at hand. What we're asking you to do tonight is just to refer that number, that budget to the 2022 budget deliberations. And that will be the time to make the hard decision about whether we move ahead or not.
Great, thank you.
I had Councillor Neal. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, going from and I thought it was about 1.8 million at the time. So my recollection is pretty close to Councillor Longo's, is that now it's $8 million. So not that we shouldn't do it, maybe, but what I would like to see happen before budget process starts is that we have a presentation and go through the whole thing of what's involved in this new aspect of a center, and so that we can make some good decisions on whether we want to go ahead with spending $8 million regarding this particular project.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. So you would like to see a presentation on this prior to budget, like a special council
correct.
meeting or during a council meeting prior to, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Jeff, are you,
Yeah, thanks. We'll make that arrangement. Thank you.
okay, Councillor Kenny?
Yeah, after reading the report, and I spoke with somebody that knows something, the phase 2 environmental study, has that been done, Jeff, or is that on the lands?
Yeah, thanks.
I read in the report that you want to set aside $1 million. The reason I'm asking, a phase 2 environmental study, if it shows this area to be a brownfield, as a municipality, we can apply as a municipality for money, it being a brownfield, and we wouldn't have to tie up our own money. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So is that one area we should be looking at then? Because we don't want to really tie up $1 million if it turns out to be a brownfield, if we don't have to.
That's correct. So part of the remaining work that we have to do between now and we come back asking for the money is to finalize the scope of the work. The phase 2 EA is something that is being reviewed and discussed with the region to determine if we, to what extent we need to do additional work. And that will help us understand whether or not we need to carry $1 million as a contingency in the budget or whether it could be reduced. It also will give us an opportunity to potentially seek other sources of finance for this type of brownfield redevelopment. But in so doing, it will be pushing the project back. So I'm mindful of the recommendation. It was in our strategic plan to try and advance this project and come back with a financing strategy. At the same time, we need to fine tune what the environmental risk is by moving ahead. And examination of the phase 2 environmental assessment will be part of that process, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 2021-84 St. David's Road Reconstruction Project Update Report. I have a mover, Councillor Hanley, and a seconder, Councillor Kenny. And once again, I turn this over to our Director of Public Works, Community Services, Jeff Holman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is one, that council approve the phasing strategy for the St. David's Road Reconstruction Project, and 2, that the St. David's Road Reconstruction Project Phase 1 be referred to the 2022 capital budget deliberations for consideration.
And once again, I open the floor up for questions. Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Jeff. Jeff, I know it's one of the key elements of the project in your report involves the reconfiguration of the intersection of St. David's and Town Line Road. I just want to ask you a couple questions. Like, are we adamant about this land acquisition? Because I'm just concerned that the cost might be too high. And is this cost being shared with St. Catharines?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So like, is this a must? Is this a have to do, Jeff?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose if we're unable to negotiate the land, we could look at an alternate road configuration for that intersection. That wouldn't be the preferred that was identified in the EA. But I would think that would be a last resort. I think the issue we have here now is we can't find somebody to negotiate with until the deal closes on the property. And the only other alternative was for me to come back to you and ask to acquire the entire piece. But I didn't think that was in the community's interest. So we've opted to look at a phasing strategy, which makes a little bit more sense from a couple perspectives. One, from a cash flow perspective, it's a little cheaper to do it in terms of annual cost to hit to our budget, and allows us to move ahead with a project that still needs to be done. And we spoke a little bit about the intersection improvements at Front Street and Ormond, where there's some serious visibility issues.
Thank you, Jeff.
And Jeff, just so that's the only other solution without having to purchase that property, you're saying, basically?
No, the other option is expropriation, which is time consuming and a lot more expensive, but it's still one of the options that we could pursue.
And will staff consult with us prior to acquiring the land as to the costs?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There'll have to be a report that comes back to council that provides the terms of any deal that might have been negotiated.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Holman.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My thoughts on this are, we're definitely going to go ahead, but my thoughts on this project are, since we're talking about that specific intersection, is to do a project from Collier Road down to Foley, or as close to this intersection as possible without having to impact the intersection. And the same thing with coming from the other way, coming up the hill, I'll call it Uptown Line Road, is coming up as far as before that particular property is concerned, and do that project either in 2 phases until we get the permission to go ahead and do that particular intersection. I think, and then it won't cost us as much, or at least we can move the cost over a period of time. And that's my comments on that particular section, is to do it in stages, but do it from Collier Road to that intersection, I'll say, and then from down at the Ormond Street intersection where we were talking about it earlier, and coming up the hill, and as far as just before this particular property that we're talking about.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
I just have, Jeff, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Is St. Catharines part of that if we do purchase that property? Are they just like the rest of the contract, it looks like 50-50? Or is that on our own? Are we on our own for that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be 100% Thorold cost.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Yeah, I think we have to think about this a little bit further, because the costs are going to escalate on purchasing this and waiting for whatever happens on an estate. And I know estates can run for years. Is that we do what I suggested, or as close to that as possible. We're on those 2 sections, St. Catharines and us are together on it. And I think the project would move ahead, and we look at the options of that intersection, whether it should be what we're looking at right now or some other way of getting around that particular piece of property. I think we need to take a look at that again before we finish this project.
Thank you. So this is just to approve this report and the phasing strategy, but it's coming back to council. Am I correct, Jeff? Just so I...
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. But if the phasing strategy changes, we'd appreciate that direction now. Because we do, as Councillor Neal points out, we do have another funding partner that would have to be put on notice. As Councillor Neal says, that section between Collier and White Avenue is the worst section of St. David's Road. It'll just happen at a time, though, if we advance construction on that phase first, it'll be during the Canada Games event, which might not be the best welcome to Thorold entrance design for us. But we could certainly follow your direction on how you'd like to phase the project.
Mr. Mayor, maybe I don't see any, other than the cost that St. Catharines is doing, I don't see anything in this submission regarding St. Catharines at all. I don't know what their thoughts are on it, whether they would agree or disagree with that specific, maybe they are agreeing with it, I guess. Is that I would like to put a motion forward that we look at doing what I suggested, and awaiting the results of the state in order to maybe modify that particular intersection. So the motion is to approve from Collier Road to, I'll say Foley, but wherever the cutoff should be. And the same thing on the other end is from Ormond Street up to and just before that particular Avondale store. And I don't know if Joanne can put that together in the form of a good motion or not, but that's what I would like to see happen.
I'm just waiting to see how that breaks down. Okay.
So through the mayor to members of council, so just to Councillor Neal's point, are we going to be providing a third motion to this report?
That would be a third direction, I would think, because the other two parts, it's a phasing in strategy, and that, would that be phase 3? That's the way I would read it, is...
Yeah, it's a phase in, whether you could put it underneath number 1 or not, I don't know, but it's a phasing strategy. But maybe put it as number 3.
Have we got it separated? Jeff, does that work that way, or is how would you rather see it?
Yeah, I think I understand it. But I think what you wanted to do is make it more specific about what the first phase is going to be, because that's the project, that's the number that we're going to be bringing forward at budget deliberations. And that's the scope of the work that we're going to need the City of St. Catharines to sign off on. So.
Go ahead. Yeah, because the way you're talking, it sounds to me like that's 2 separate phases. So, am I correct, Jeff?
I think, Mr. Mayor, the best thing might be just to turn down the report and then come back with a new recommendation that's specific to what you'd like to see.
Okay. Councillor Kenny, go ahead. What do you want to mention on that?
Well, my problem with Councillor Neal's proposal is this St. David's Road is going to be under construction for 10 years. Like, let's get it done. That road's terrible. Like, we got to move forward on this. I understand what he's saying, but I mean, if we do it in these different phases, this road's going to be under construction till 2028. That's too long, and I don't think the residents of Thorold are going to be happy with that.
Go ahead, Councillor Hanlon.
I kind of tend to agree with Councillor Neal, to tell you the truth. The one thing I have concerns of is the funding. We got some pretty astronomical expenses coming up pretty soon, and we're going to have to find lots of money to pay. And we just can't keep draining reserves all the time. So maybe we should take it maybe just one step at a time, until we really know what the future of Thorold holds in ourselves, because I'm sure the 2022 budget deliberations are gonna be quite interesting this year. So that's my feeling. I think I'm kind of headed towards what Councilor Neal wants myself. Because, until we know what really is gonna be the burden of taxpayers, some, previous, investments that we've made, I don't wanna see us full speed ahead and having to look at astronomical tax increases to see this accomplished, or just keep draining our reserves. Because that's all seems that has been happening lately. Is every time we go to a project, it's from reserves, and we really don't see the new capital or the new monies coming forward. So I kind of tend to agree with Councilor Neal.
So there was Councilor Neal's recommendation, or our director says to send a report back, and he'll revamp it and bring it back. Is that what?
Sorry, through the mayor to members of council, I'm thinking of maybe another option, because I'm not really seeing how it fits in here, so I'm struggling a little bit. Whether or not Councillor Neal, if this would be appropriate to bring forth a notice of motion, and then we can bring forth a properly worded notice of motion at the next meeting, and that's something that maybe staff can work on.
How about defer the report, and then we can come back with the report at the next meeting?
Well, that's what,
But
but someone that hasn't speak to the report has to defer the report back. Councilor Wilson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can we defer the report until next council meeting so staff can come back?
Yeah, that's the, there's no debate on a deferral. All those in favor? You need a seconder? I need a seconder for that. Councilor Longo. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PDS 2021-40, assignment of the Artisan Ridge Tax Increment-Based Grant Program Agreement. I have a mover, Councilor Wilson, seconder, Councilor Sentence, and then, so I'll turn this over to Denise Landry, Manager of Planning. Go ahead, Denise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations of the report are that Planning and Development Services Report PDS 2021-40 be received, that the assignment of the tax increment grant agreement for 181 Queen and 1686 Beaver Dams Road, Artisan Ridge Subdivision from Downing Street, Artisan Ridge Incorporated to Downing Street Associates be approved, and that staff be directed to prepare a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the transfer agreement. This concludes the report.
And I had a mover, Councilor Wilson, and a seconder, Councilor Sentence. Any questions to Denise regarding the report? Go ahead, Councilor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Denise, is this a common request from developers?
Through the mayor to the councillor, when the developers are changing hands or amalgamating companies, this is when this comes forward. So this particular company has been doing some refinancing, they've changed some names. So it's just more of a formality that who we pay out needs to be accurate on the agreement. So they have requested to change it, basically a technicality to address ownership of the land.
Thank you. And Denise, is there any downside to this for the city at all?
Through the mayor to the councillor, no, we do frequently with these requests check with our solicitor, and no, there is no impacts to the city. It's just simply who is now going to receive the payments for the grant.
And Denise, last question, will they be covering any costs incurred by our staff? Because it's their request?
Yeah, through the mayor to the councillor, there isn't an application to change the name on the agreement. This was something that I have brought up with the other municipalities to find out if they charge applicants for such requests, and it seems quite common across the board that the municipalities don't request any funds to process this request. So no, we do not take any money.
So I'm assuming it's just a small cost.
Yeah, well, yeah, through the mayor to the councillor, it's majority of it is just staff time to prepare the report, and then to have our lawyer take a look at it, and it does not take him a lot of time.
Do you have a rough ballpark figure, Denise, what it would cost?
Through
Can
the
you come back
mayor.
with that? Can you come back with a number for us? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no problem. It's honestly, it's through the mayor to the councillor. It's a few hours in total, probably 3 to 4 of staff time. Plus, I would suggest perhaps 15 to 30 minutes of a legal opinion.
Yeah, okay. Once you said lawyer, I started thinking dollars, but thank you.
No, yeah, just a brief overview. I do have him check the documents to ensure that, the city is being protected.
Any further questions? Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PDS 2021-42, Recommendation Report, Draft Plan of Vacant Land Condominium for Block 155, Peach Street, Rolling Meadows, Phase 12, File Number D0701-2021. I have a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor Hanley, and I'll turn this over to Bryn O'Neill, Senior Planner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the report PDS 2021-42 be received and that the application for the proposed draft plan of vacant land condominium, which is for 23 townhouse units, be approved subject to the conditions noted in Appendix A of the report.
Questions? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PDS 2021-44, Facade Improvement Grant Program application for 52 Front Street South. I have a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor Longo. And again, I'll turn this over to Denise Landry, Manager of Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations of the report are that the report PDS 2021-44 be received, that the Facade Improvement Grant Program application for 52 Front Street South for $7,500 be approved, and that staff be directed to prepare a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with the owner of 52 Front Street South for the facade improvement grant. And this concludes the report.
Is there any questions for Denise? Seeing, go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
No question. I was just getting ready to say for voting or against
okay.
or for.
So again, I had a mover, Councillor DeRose, seconder, Councillor Longo. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, that's the end of that. Any notices of motion? And then we'll move to bylaws. First reading of bylaws. I have a mover, Councillor Longo, and a seconder, Councillor Neal, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws and that the same now be read a first time. Bylaw 103-2021, Bylaw 105-2021, and Bylaw 106-2021, and that now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Final reading of the bylaws. Mover, Councillor Longo, seconder,
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Didn't we have a chance to pull one and discuss it?
Pull the bylaw? Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask something about the first one. Mr. Mayor, number one?
Yep, go ahead.
I assumed that they were just gonna have their, all their equipment and like a facility for materials and that. In that report, in that site plan agreement, now I'm reading that they wanna have an apartment building? Is that correct? Or can I ask someone on staff if I'm correct or not?
Then, Manager of Planning, go ahead, Denise.
Through the mayor to the councillor, this site plan application and agreement is to facilitate a contractor's yard for 1051 Old Thorold Stone Road. There is no proposal for an apartment building as it would not be permitted use.
Oh, okay. I could have swore I read that. I'm gonna have to read it over. Thank you.
Okay. Now that we pulled that, we'll do this all over again. First reading of the bylaws, moved by Councillor Longo, seconded by Councillor Neal, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw 103, 2021, Bylaw 105, 2021, and Bylaw 106, 2021, and now that the same now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Final reading of the bylaws. Mover, Counselor Longo, seconder, Counselor Neal, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Closed meeting. We're now gonna go into closed session. I have a mover, Counselor Kenny, and a seconder, Counselor DeRose, that council move into closed session at 8:20 to discuss personnel matters regarding identifiable informations, COVID-19 vaccinations, and the potential sale or disposition of land, 131 Queen Street. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. You'll have to log out and log in on the closed session.